Welcome back to the Born to Chat Shit podcast. This is take number 2 because the doorbell rang after 1 minute and Vicky ordered some lovely Gymshark stuff. I was going to say Bombshell then.
No, I've ordered Gymshark. I've recently become obsessed with it, to be honest with you. I used to wear Gymshark all the time when I was like starting out in, I wouldn't even say bodybuilding, just like the gym. And then I went through a phase where I just didn't like it. But I think since they got Sebum on, and he's obviously a partner, so yeah, I don't even know, but they've got Sebum on the team. They actually went down the route of like bodybuilding style clothes that fit me really well. And we went to London yesterday. I tried a few things on and I was like, ooh, I'm gonna have to do an order. And obviously we're trying to get rid of quite a lot of clothes at the moment because we're moving to Spain, and girl math is, well, if I sell my clothes on Vinted and I buy more clothes, then technically I'm not paying for it, because the balances out. But it defeats the objective of me trying to get rid of clothes.
So Vicky's selling clothes and then, or getting rid of clothes and then buying more.
Oops.
And then having 100 different pieces of clothing, which she may rotate every 27 days, for example. It's a bit like that.
Yeah, I still have nothing to wear.
Yeah. I don't like the Gymshark stuff, to be honest with you.
What, for males?
Yeah, for the males. It just isn't my sort of vibe, you know. Yeah, I was upstairs and I was just feeling material. I was just thinking, like I can see a lot of people and why they wear it, but for me, it's just not my sort of cup of tea. So let us know in the comments, do you wear Gymshark or not? Do you rate the clothing? I used to rate the old stuff back in the day. That's when I used to wear it, but now it's just changed and it's not really my sort of cup of tea.
I don't think it's that. I just don't think you like change.
Yeah, I know.
That's it. George has the same top, one in every colour, and that is all that he will wear day in, day out. Whether we go to the gym, whether it's outside of the gym, and he just refuses. It's basically gasp. Like if he's got a top and gasp, like it's just gonna.
It's autism, guys. It's just my autistic trait where I'm just having to sort of wear. I don't know, I can't like wear, if I wear a different material, it just doesn't feel right and it just gives me...
frustrated in the gym.
Yeah, I get frustrated. I'm just like, oh, just get me out of these clothes almost. I just can't deal with it. Anyway, welcome back to the podcast. I really hope everyone is well, and thank you so much for everyone who tunes in, likes, shares them on the stories. If you're listening to this right now and you're out for a walk, take a fucking photo, share the podcast. It really does help the channel, the Spotify, whatever it is, it helps it grow, gets it out there to more people, and hopefully we can kill some time whilst you're doing cardio, your steps, and you can also just feel like you're in the conversation. That's the big one for me. I want you to feel like you are a part of the fam. So we've got Mango in the shot here. If you're watching on YouTube, it doesn't really matter. She's just sitting here, just say hello to the camera. Trying to record and having dogs is very, very fun. So Vix, give us a bit of an update. Obviously, since we last spoke, obviously you finished your diet.
Yeah.
Into the off season we go. So we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'm 3 weeks now into my post-dieting phase, whatever you want to call it. Things are going really well, to be honest.
Basically low.
Yeah, just at low at the moment. I'm 60 kilos. I started off on like 60 kilos. So my average for the weeks has literally not gone up, even though that food has. I'm looking better as well. Dare I say, I never compliment myself, but I actually look really good. I'm actually really happy because I'm looking fuller. Obviously, more carbs, straight to the muscles. My training's better, and I just feel overall good. I don't have any like diet fatigue. I don't really have food focus or anything like that. I don't really get that though, do I? Maybe around like my period, I get a little bit hungrier, but apart from that, I've stuck to my meal plan. I've just increased foods. Yesterday was the first day that we had off plan, if you want to call it that.
In a long time.
In a long time. Since my birthday, which was
8 weeks ago.
Yeah, which is 8 weeks ago. So that's been like my first time where I've just enjoyed food without tracking it. And even then, my personality type has shifted from someone that was so compulsive surrounding food and could not shut their mouth and stop eating, to someone that's just very mindful surrounding it. So we went into London. I had a bagel, cream cheese and salmon, and there is one called the Reuben. It's called From B Bagel. If you're in London, try it. It's really good. Like the actual bagels are amazing. And the Reuben one was like, by the way, sorry if you're on prep and listening to this, you're probably drooling right now, but it was like a type of ham with like a
pickles,
cheese sauce, pickles.
Cheese sauce,
yeah, it was like a proper like Polish bagel. So enjoyed that. Had a pistachio pastry, which is unlike us.
Yeah, pistachio. We never go for pistachio.
No,
to be
but
honest.
we would.
I thought, why not do something a little bit different, you know? Like, I'm the type of person who just sticks to what they know, you know, when it comes to, I don't know, if I get like a, I don't know, like a cookie, it's always probably going to be a triple chocolate one because I like triple chocolate, I know what it's like. But I said, I never really have pistachio, let's just buy it.
I've been craving pistachio.
It was bloody delicious.
Yeah, it was
absolutely
lovely.
Delicious. So I can't remember what that place was called now, but it was great, weren't it?
No, not too sure.
No.
It's next to Soho though.
Yeah.
It's quite nice. It's next to Joe and the Juice. That's all I know. But if I find it, link in bio. But yeah, that was really nice. And then we came back home. We actually had a Turkish, which was stunning. Oh, Mango is yawning. Yeah, that was really nice. But again, just at within my capacity. And I woke up and I'm in a new low. So it's just one of those situations where I think when you've done these reverses for such a long time and you know what works and you know what doesn't, it's so much easier to actually make an informed decision of what you are doing. I didn't feel like I was restricting myself. I wasn't looking at the food, but like, oh, I can't have that. But I was very much looking at it and thinking like an adult of like, do I want this or do I think I want it? Oh, and actually I did have some minstrels and rebel. So it goes to show that, you know, I did enjoy myself yesterday, but it wasn't a detrimental to my scale weight. And I think a huge part of that is because over the last 3 weeks, I have been so adherent and consistent with my foods where I've been able to just go, don't get me wrong, my calories aren't super high. I'm only on like 2,000 on a training day, 1,800 on a rest day. But compared to my diet and how much lesser expenditure I'm doing and the fact that I've removed clenbuterol as well, you know, the balance equation is much higher in terms of the calorie ins versus calorie out. So yeah, I'm just feeling good. We decided to deload for 4 days now because my training was going good, but I was noticing I was picking up niggles quite a lot, that's how I know I need to deload. And then, yeah, getting back into training. And obviously, if you've listened to the previous podcast, that's where I'll be introducing my first ever exposure to androgens. So it'll be like full off season and in sort of like full swing, if you want to call it that. I'm going to give myself a week to get back into the gym, make sure that volume is back up to scratch, recovery is good, and then we'll start to sort of reassess from there. But I'm feeling good. How are you feeling, Georgie boy?
Yeah, all good here. I think just to sort of elaborate on your half, I think with Vicky, she's very like, she digs her body to a point where her body just becomes very unresponsive. This is just the sort of theme that we've seen with Vicky in her diets. And as we said, you know, the more you do these sort of things, the more you actually learn from it. And this is why we always say to a lot of people, like, do these sort of things where you bulk, you diet, you bulk, you diet. Do it multiple times before you actually consider prepping, because you can use that data for what's actually needed in your prep. And what we found out with Vicky is, no surprise, she digs herself, body doesn't really respond. He brings up food and body just responds, looks better, sharper, body weight hasn't really moved, and she's added in decent amount of foods, reduced, you know, decent amount of expenditure. So just as a coach who, you know, coaching Vicky here for her prep, you know, we're gonna really use this data to actually go, you know what, in her prep, we're going to dig her, but when her body starts becoming unresponsive, we're actually going to do the opposite and pull back and get her responding again. Then all of a sudden we can go back into it. Like, I could imagine if she started dieting now again, she'd probably drop down to 59, 58 pretty quickly from where she is right now. So we're going to use that sort of data to carry forward in her prep, but we wouldn't have known that data without trialing these sort of things multiple times across the years. As this little one is very annoying. Sorry if you're on audio, Mango's just annoying me right now. So yeah, she's in a good spot and I'm excited for her. You got your blood work done? You mentioned that blood work.
Yeah, I did.
Sorry, I don't know if it was in the first part that we recorded.
Maybe I
or the second
didn't.
part.
I got my blood work done and it's the best it ever has been.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't know if I said it now or not.
Yeah, we recorded this twice, so we don't know what we actually said. Fucking delivery. But yeah, on my behalf, all good. I needed deload, like it was just needed. For me, the big one is like, I'm a 4 a.m. warrior. Like, I wake up at 4 a.m. and I'm like, yeah, straight out of bed, ready to get the day started. Over the last week, I can't get up at 4 o'clock. I've not been getting up at 4 o'clock, and that tells me that my body is very much.
You don't want it bad enough.
I know, I'm a fucking failed person.
He wakes up at 5 o'clock now.
Honestly, I wake up at 5, feel guilty. What the fuck? Like, still people don't get up till like 7, 8, and I'm feeling guilty getting up at 5. So yeah, my body's been telling me that I need to sort of reset, and I've been feeling a little bit under the weather as well recently as well. Training performance has been a little bit stale, and for me, I noticed in the gym, like, I'm not as focused as what I usually would be. Like, for me, deloading, I know when I go, I'm like, oh, I'm going to the gym. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm going to the gym. It's kind of like, yeah, going to the gym, like, I'm not bothered if I do go versus if I don't go. Like, I've lost that sort of urgency of wanting to go, if that makes sense. So it's been nice just to sort of take a step back. We're on day number 2 deloading now. It's nice just to take a step back and just chill out, and you actually, it sounds quite deep as well. You sort of actually start to realise like how much the gym actually, or going to the gym takes, like, you sort of feel a little bit lost without it. Does that make sense? You sort of lose your purpose, which in my opinion is not really a good thing, because you should have a purpose outside the gym. Don't get me wrong, I love the gym as a whole entire life, but if you're sitting here going, fuck, like, what do I do with myself now? I don't go to the gym. I think that's a bit of a bad thing, do you?
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting distracted by mango. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I think it just shows that, for me anyway, it's such a big part of my life that actually causes me to be happy. I don't struggle, like before, when I first started training, and training was like, it was almost like a temporary plaster for a long-term solution, aka I used to suppress my emotions through training. That's when it was an issue, because when I used to have a rest day, I used to really, really struggle. Whereas now I'm like, oh, you know, like, I've got more time to do other things. I think the difference for us as well is we have changed environments. If we were at home and we were in our normal routine, then it would have been completely different. But like, now that we're away from home, it's technically like a little bit of a holiday.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I think as long as you're not compulsively having to go to the gym, even though you should deload, the fact that you miss it, actually, if anything, in my opinion, proves that you love it.
And I think that's sometimes the whole point of the deload, right? Is to get that spark and that itch back to wanting to go to the gym. So yeah, you can see it's sort of like a good or bad thing in a way from what you've said as well. So yeah, I think that sort of ties into what we wanted to sort of speak about today. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, we've added in some more food for myself, haven't we? My scale weight's been, it's not really been moving, to be honest. You're adding food, still been saying the same. I've been the same weight now for the last 6-7 weeks, haven't I? So it's definitely due in terms of my food. My digestion, obviously I've been mentioning about my digestion recently, and it has surprisingly been getting better, which is always the case.
£380.
Yeah, spent 370 quid on a GI 360 test, and I'm still going to do it because I think it's going to be important. But yeah, my bowel movements have been the best they've been since coming back from Alicante, which is shock, absolute shock. So yeah, diving into today's podcast really, and that is all about sort of the mental barriers and the problems that a lot of us, I've experienced, Vicky's experienced, and probably you guys have experienced or may well experience throughout your prep. That sounded very long-winded from me, didn't it? That sound right? I'll play it back and it probably doesn't sound completely right at all. So yeah, I think the first one that we're going to dive into is, we've written down a list because obviously my memory is like a goldfish. Is that bad? Memory of a goldfish? Goldfish have good memories?
No, you just have tangentiality.
Yeah, whatever Vicky said.
He goes off on tangents. So you'll start something and then he'll start talking about something else. I'm like, okay.
I'm like, oh shit, what is he talking about? And I'm like, oh, why am I talking about this? So number one we've written down is comparison. Very, very common to see. Even I've got some athletes now who are competing this year, next couple of weeks. They're on social media. They're scrolling through. They're 2 weeks out from the show and someone's posted they're 2 weeks out from the show. And they're like, oh, they're doing the same show as me. And oh, they look like they're doing the same class as me. And then, oh, you look through Instagram and it's like, oh, he's so much better than me. Or he's more conditioned than me. Or he's got that better body part than me. I've been there, I've done that. I did that quite badly in my first prep, I'll have to admit. I've got obviously better with it with more time, but comparing yourself, I think I have a little bit, because last year I don't think I compared myself to many people, because I know it was very spontaneous, but I don't think I was very bad. Do you think?
I think that you did. Even when you went for your tan and you came out, you were like, oh, fuck this. What's the point? What's the point? I don't think you compared because you weren't on prep for long. Well, you weren't officially on prep for long. You were on prep for like 6 weeks because you decided at 6 weeks out that you were going to compete.
Yeah.
And you didn't have the opportunity to.
Yeah. So I would say, I must admit, I'll even go back to last year. I got my tanning for my PCA show, and in the mornings of the show, you would go within your class. So the night before, you would just turn up at a time and it'll be any Tom, Dick and Harry there. The morning of the show, your category would be at the, obviously, tanning time all together. So I would be with the competitors and you'll be standing there getting your tan done, basically looking each other up and down and comparing each other's physiques and maybe even penises if you go that far.
What the hell? I was away with the fairies for the majority of that sentence.
So I was backstage and I saw a few guys and I was thinking, fuck, like these guys are big and I'm not gonna. So I come out of it, went back in the car and I was like, yeah, Vicky, like there's some big guys in my category that I'm not really gonna be sure I'll do very well against. And then fast track a couple of hours later, I'm bloody centre stage looking at my badge number and think, oh fucking hell, I won the category, what the fuck. So yeah, that was a moment for myself. So yeah, we've all gone through that really. Do you go through that much at the moment?
I think I used to more so.
Okay.
I think I've given myself preventative measures to not compare, and I've also very much realised that actually comparing leads me to nowhere. Like it's not productive in terms of like, even if someone does have a better physique than me, it doesn't change how I look, So I used to be really, really bad with this in my first prep, 2022, because it didn't start off like that, but I started becoming friends with a lot of people that were competing first time. So I knew who was doing my shows and we were all friends. We were in these group chats and then I was like, fuck, like she looks like this, 12 weeks out and she looks like that. And everyone starts to give you their 2 pence on your physique. And I was like, it started taking away from my experience quite a lot. Then what happened is I changed categories. I went into wellness and I started this is how stupid it is. I started comparing myself as a natural lifter to IFBB Pro wellness girls. Why? Who fucking knows? I don't know why I did that, but I kept on being like, oh, she's got bigger quads than me. Well, obviously. First of all, you're not doing what these girls are doing. Second of all, you've not been doing it for as long as they've been doing. Third of all, you don't have the genetics that these girls have. Fourth of all, what's the point? So I definitely found myself doing that. And I remember finding myself in a hole where this comparison was leading me into a huge spiral of self-doubt to the point where I was like, what is the point of me doing this category? Because I'll never be good enough. And then I actually realized that the point is I love this sport. So regardless of what they look like, I'm still going to do this for me. And then I went through a huge unfollow, mute, and not necessarily block, but huge unfollow and mute spree on Instagram. I unfollowed so many IFBB Pro women that I actually looked up to, or I muted their profile, so I don't see their stories, I don't see their posts. Like if they're, for example, maybe friends of mine. Why? Because I just decided to protect my peace. I don't think there's anything bad with blocking or muting things that are even subconsciously triggering you. And now I've gotten to the point where I see physiques and I admire them. I think they're amazing and I am able to use that as motivation. This is how I feel at this moment in time. I don't know how I'm going to feel next year in prep. And next year in prep, it may change. It doesn't mean I'm regressing in terms of my mentality. It might just mean that I'm deep into prep. I'm skewing my mindset a little bit because that's what happens ultimately when you're in prep. You do get a level of body dysmorphia and comparison might kick in which case I will go back to the same old and I'll just mute, unfollow and not expose myself to things that aren't causing me happiness.
Yeah, I would obviously, just speaking from my situation to looking into yours, I think you sometimes do compare, like for example, your glutes. And you say that your glutes, we actually had the conversation, I think 2 days ago now, and you were sort of like saying your glutes are still underdeveloped and they're not how you want them to be. And I sort of was thinking to myself, like, who are you comparing to here when you're saying this? What are you comparing to?
I'm not comparing. That was a matter of me analysing my physique, because I said my quads and even my hamstrings have come a lot, and I said my glutes need to come up in relation to my physique to be a little bit more balanced. So I don't think I was comparing.
I would say in general in the past you have compared. And
in the past, yeah.
I would say you're comparing to, we've found out that these girls now actually inject their glutes, which
this is a completely different
whole ball game when it comes to comparison. We've found out that these girls, it's almost kind of like they get these lip fillers, but they get it for their glutes as well, and they fill out their glutes more, which in my eyes, as I sort of think about it, it's kind of like cheating in bodybuilding. Now, I know, we spoke about this actually the other day, didn't we? Taking steroids, okay, people think, like my mum would say, yeah, it's cheating because you're cheating and using steroids, blah, blah, blah. But like we said, you still have to work for that. You still have to go to the gym and train like an absolute animal, eat like an absolute animal, whatever, to make the progress that you want. But these injections, you come out from your procedure and 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, you've got enhanced glutes. And I'm thinking, that's cheating, isn't it? Surely, and they're doing that at like the highest level in the Olympia level. And I'm just thinking, well, surely that's unfair. It's like these people who inject like Synthol into their muscle. I haven't a clue what they do, to be honest. That does not interest me one bit. So, we're actually comparing to people that are actually, in a way, fake when you really think about it, and sort of cheating.
Yeah.
That makes sense? I don't know.
I 100% agree. I just genuinely think, unless you're using comparison as a driver to be like, whoa, these people did it and so can I, so it's like a positive influx of motivation, then it's absolutely pointless, because on Instagram nowadays, even on stage, you're sat there thinking, I don't look like those people. Those people don't even look like those people, because you've got filters, because you've got Facetune, because you've got fillers, because you've got fucking glute injections. You've got, these people don't even look like themselves anymore. So yeah, just if you're in prep right now, we're basically saying comparison can be a thief of joy. I'm not necessarily saying is a thief of joy, because like I said, you can view it from a different perspective. But if you are finding yourself deep into prep, looking at people's profiles thinking, oh, they're better than me, they've got bigger glutes than me, first of all, you're not stood up on stage next to them, you're not there in person, you don't know if they're actually editing their pictures, and believe me, people edit their pictures even if they're competitors. You don't know what they actually look like size-wise, you don't know what their posing is like, stage presence is like. It's pointless. You're taken away from your journey, which should be so exciting, and it should genuinely be a you versus you sort of thing. Yes, you're competing against others. Many people disagree with the you versus you mentality, because ultimately you're in a competitive sport. I get that, but you have no control over what other people do or what they look like. You only have control over yourself, and you, by sitting there and comparing, are not only taking away from the enjoyment of your journey, but two, you're also skewing your mentality, which is more likely going to make you slip up in a prep and underperform and retain stress, which is going to make your physique look more shit. So you are sabotaging your own progress, not these people that you're comparing to.
Yeah, I've always said, like, it's just effort taken, like, you're focused on other people when you shouldn't give a fuck about other people.
No, out of your control.
Takes away from your own journey, your own process, and that's only going to affect what you bring to stage and your best. So it's important to remember that, that it is at the end of the day like other people, and you shouldn't really give a fuck about other people, really. You should just care more about yourself in the grand scheme of things. So I think you've hit the nail on the head with that, and we've sort of gone through our experiences, we've gone through what we would do in those situations, and that's it really, I think, for that one. Comparison?
Ticked. Next one, self-doubt and body image struggles. Paradox, isn't it? You're getting leaner, you're getting more jacked, you're probably, quote unquote, looking the best you ever have, yet you probably dislike your physique more.
Yeah. And then you look back in 6 months' time and think, oh my God, I look amazing. We've got actually a photo, my phone isn't in here at the moment, but I've got a wallpaper of me and Vicky, and we took that photo, we looked at it, and it was just like, I'm not going to post that. And then we look back now and you're like, I look fucking jacked. And I was like, yeah, I look actually seriously good. And in that moment, we were just like, no way am I posting that.
Yeah, we tried to do like a Renee and John Duet, and we were like, oh my God, no, we're not posting that.
It's like the B-Tech version of them. Yeah. But now I think, you know what? That's actually bloody A-level, that. It's fucking good.
That's A-level standard. Yeah, it's crazy. It's honestly crazy. We're in a game where, unfortunately, if you're going into bodybuilding to feel better about yourself, again, we've said this on a podcast before, you're probably in the wrong sport, because the likely chances of it highlighting your body dysmorphia are very, very high, especially when you are deep into prep. Hormones are severely disturbed, whether you're assisted or whether you are natural. You are going to be looking at your body, because frankly, again, you're in a sport where, yes, okay, it's about nutrition, it's about training, but it is about how you look. And your self-worth and your placing can be determined, if you allow it, by that placing and how you are looking on stage. So the deeper you get into prep, the more self-doubt you are more likely to have, because anxiety is high, stress is high, you know, things are becoming real. You're like, fuck, I'm actually gonna have to step up on stage in a thong and show off my ass in front of judges and hundreds of people. And yeah, again, this actually very closely links to the comparison aspect of things, of it is you versus you. And you just got to, well, what helps me anyway, you don't have to do anything, I'm not your mum, but what you should do and what you could do is just compare to your old self of the person that first started. You know, when I actually look, and I said this to George, when I look at my physique from 5 years ago, I now look like what would have then been my gym spo. You know, I used to look at these girls and think, wow, I'd love to look like that. Or, you know, they've got the smaller waist, the delts, like the glutes, yet I'm sat here right now being like, I'm too small, I'm not big enough. So when you find yourself doubting how far you've yet to go, just look back on how far you have come. Have you made progress? Have you given it your all? And that is all that really truly matters, because bodybuilding is a sport of constant progression, and your progress doesn't just end on the show day. Yes, it's showcased on the show day, but after that it still continues. So that's one method that I help with my self-doubt, is just reminding myself of how far I have come and finding gratitude for the body that's gotten me to where I am right now.
Yeah, what I like to do with clients is actually get them to compare body weights as well. So something that I've done with myself actually in recent years is that right now I'm sitting at 80 kilos. Back in my natural days, this would be the peak and the heaviest that I would get in my off season, my bulks. And I'd have no wiggle room. I'd have to just diet, you know, my stage weight would be 64, 65 kg. And where I'm sitting right now, like, you know, I've got another maybe 7, 8 kg, 9, maybe even up to 10 kg if I really wanted to push in terms of being in the similar body composition as what I was before. So sometimes what I do with my clients is actually send through previous photos of when they were 80 kilos last time, for example, where they were a couple of years ago, and actually compare to where they are right now and saying, look, mate, you know, you versus you here, you know, you've made an incredible amount of progress. And that's really helped me sort of remind myself that, okay, cool, like, yes, we always want more progress, but also be proud and be happy with the progress that you've actually made in whatever time. Because, you know, if someone's made a progress within 6 months or a year, that's fucking great. Like, there's some people that don't make any progress at all. When you actually think about it, there's people that are still spinning their wheels and going in circles. So maybe look at it from that perspective. If you look back old photos of you where you were certain body weights to where you are right now, see the progress that you made. And I think for me, like, as well, I always say just like control what you can control. Like, focus on the things that you can control rather than things about what you can't control. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not big enough. And I'm just thinking, well, you're in prep right now. The chance of you building muscle are probably going to be very, very small, right? Unless you're doing something really stupid, like stupid cycles like people do in their preps. So just focus on being in the moment and doing and bringing your best. And that's always, especially in my eyes, is always going to be good enough. And remember that, especially competing in bodybuilding, it's subjective. You know, I might sit there and go, well, I like his physique, and Vicky might go, well, actually, I like that person's physique more, you know? It doesn't define your placings, you know, the whatever it may be. It won't define you as a person just because someone else prefers a look at the end of the day. It's one of those sports which is very weird because there isn't like Formula One or results driven, if that makes sense. It is generally down to which you prefer.
Subjective.
You know, it's very subjective in that sort of sense. So yeah, I think daily reminder there is just focus on what you can control. And I think sometimes the issue is that when people bulk, especially, I've seen this with a lot of people, it gives them sometimes the reality sort of hits as well with a lot of people, because when they start pulling off the body fat, it actually then reveals what actually is there. And sometimes I think the issue with a lot of people is that they push in their off seasons and they're like, yeah, cool. And they start pulling it off and like, oh shit, you know, actually I need a little bit more time, a little bit more off seasons to maybe build the true muscle that I actually need, which sometimes can be a big issue in itself. It kind of bulking in a way, especially people who store body fat very well. Like my physique looks completely different when I'm stage ready compared to when I'm in off season, like drastically different. But for some people, they store it really, really well, and then they pull it off and it's actually not. So sometimes it can be misleading in that sense. What would you say? You're smirking at me.
Because you've just gone off on a touch.
I'm just like, Vicky just butting, come on, like say something, just say like, yeah, and then this.
I've
and
got
that.
so much to say, but you just kept on going. I'm so sorry.
How long have I spoken for there?
I don't know. I don't know, but we started off about self-doubt, and then you were like, people pushing body weight and off-season. I was like, okay.
God, my mouth is getting dry over this shit. What the fuck's that going, Gingy boy? I was looking at Vicky like, button. I'm like looking at you.
Okay, back to self-doubt.
Sorry guys, one of those podcasts I'm really sorry about this.
Yeah, back to self-doubt. I always remind myself that the things that we are doing are very extreme, right? So deep this for a second. I used to be the biggest self-doubter that I wasn't intelligent enough when I was in medical school. And I literally had to reiterate to myself that there were 30, so I got into Lancaster University as well as, I got into 3 out of 4 of my applications for unis. One of them was Lancaster, and there was only 40 spots for medicine, and there were like 2,000 applicants. And I got the spot for med school, and I was just still like, I said to my parents, I was like, I'm not good enough. I'm just not smart enough. I'm just not like, and my mum sat me down. She was like, you are in the minority of people that not only get to apply for medicine because of the grades that you got, but actually got into that spot. So what I'm trying to say is, as bodybuilders, we are perfectionists, and our bar is this high. Our bar is perfection. So your self-doubt is because you're trying to reach a potential that's very often going, not necessarily unrealistic, but it's super high to attain. You are already in the minority of people that have been able to stick through a 20+ week diet strictly, doing countless of cardio, doing countless sessions in the gym, pushing to failure, eating foods that, you know, rabbits basically eat. You have been able to do that. So what are you actually doubting? Okay, maybe your first season isn't going to be the look that you imagined, but you still got there, and many people can't even diet for a day, you know? So stop doubting yourself. Actually be proud of how far you've come, and any doubt that's driven by the fact that you've not ticked your boxes and it's a matter of like more so disappointment than self-doubt, address it, show up for yourself, and that's where the confidence is going to stem from. So that is point number 2 of the mental problems that you face within a bodybuilding prep.
You should do this on your own, Vicky. Far better than me.
No,
it's like smoking it. You know when like you smoke a spliff and you just start waffling about random shit, and you're just like, what the fuck? I've not even smoked anything. This is just high off life, baby.
Point number 3, obsessiveness/addiction.
Go on, Vicky.
Mental struggles.
Start.
Me?
Yeah, start.
Okay, so this is actually like two different points I wanted to mention. Very commonly in a prep, you will become overly obsessive over things that you do because ticking the boxes and sticking to plan is just so important. You'll become obsessive over the scales in terms of the weight loss. You'll become obsessive over being 1 gram over in terms of how much rice you put on. You become obsessive for progress, and that can be a very good thing because again, when you are obsessed with the sport, you're more likely to do very well. But if that obsessiveness isn't controlled, it can also lead to a very negative spiral, because there will come a point where there needs to be a balance in life. Yeah, granted, prep may be not the one, but at the same time, the ability to detach and, you know, take the reins from this obsessiveness at a certain point is going to be very much needed. Now, the other aspect of obsessiveness that I wanted to talk about is addiction. And this is not actually something that a lot of people speak about in bodybuilding and in a bodybuilding prep, but your tendency, your perfectionist tendency, your type A personality, your want to diet and do these extreme diets can often be very linked to an obsessive personality, which is closely linked to addictions. And this is why you see a lot of bodybuilders also like vaping or having different addictions of sorts that may lead further down the line. And the reason for that is because you become not necessarily addicted to dopamine, but you start searching for dopamine. Usually food is a hit for dopamine. That's taken away in a bodybuilding prep. And what happens after that is people look for a different dopamine fix, and this is where addictions can arise. So I wanted to actually touch on 2 of those topics because people don't often see that addictions are related. And I actually did quite a lot of research into this when I was in med school, not necessarily in terms of bodybuilding, but other high level competitive sports. And there is a very high correlation between athletes and then later addictions, because they're so addicted to the chase of dopamine, to constantly winning, to constantly striving for something, to constantly making themselves feel like they're achieving, like just that high of like what you get when you're on stage, that high of what you get when you come off cardio. You search for that in other things, and this is why also post-prep a lot of people can revert into a rebound of food, because they suddenly don't have a goal to work towards, and they search for that dopamine in the binge patterns, and food is actually a form of addiction.
Yeah, I think as well, like the more extreme it gets as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they
steroid addiction.
Yeah, I mean, people are willing to do some crazy stuff when they get deep into preps. You know, these diuretics, these things that, you know, some things that I've never heard of in my life, people are willing to do. The worst one in terms of food, like food, is like it starts off by watching like food challenges. You know, like that beard meets food, and they start watching that, and then, you know, all of a sudden, every time they're eating and every time they're doing something, they're just watching these food challenges, just gets like really obsessive, and they're like planning out what they do post-show and all this eating that they can do, and it's just like, whoa, like it just gets really, and even like you said about the vaping, like you go to a bodybuilding show, every fucker is vaping outside of the facility, they just vape.
Social media scroll, and that's another addiction. That obsessive personality, obviously, like I said, serves a purpose in a bodybuilding prep. But just be very, very mindful of it, because it can translate to other aspects of your life, and it won't end very well if it's uncontrolled. And as George was actually on the topic, the next point that we have, mental struggles in a prep, is obsessiveness with food, food focus, and poor relationship with food. So I'm sure everyone listening to this, if you are a bodybuilder, you will have or may have had some negative relationship with food at some point. I think everyone has, to be honest with you, whether you're a bodybuilder or not.
Yeah, I think bodybuilders are foodies, you know? Like most bodybuilders enjoy food. Like,
I think everyone enjoys food.
Yeah, I think so.
I think everyone enjoys food. To be honest with you.
They've got
food
to, right?
is the biggest like form of dopamine, minus social media, I think, nowadays anyway.
Yeah.
And the issue with bodybuilding is you deplete your body so much in a prep setting, in a diet setting, that not only do you have the food focus mentally, but also physically and physiologically, because your hunger signals start to get so dysregulated. And yeah, we just basically wanted to, in this podcast, I know we've gone off on a few tangents, but give you tips and tricks on how to manage these negative mental aspects of prep. So food focus can be present. How would you manage it?
I would, first of all, if I had a coach, I would communicate. I mean, that's the most important thing if you're listening right now. Like, we try and get a lot of our, even, I'm not saying if you've got a coach, like you can communicate to people that you trust as well, because what we generally suggest in a prep is that you have a few sort of close friends that get it, that you sort of communicate with. I think that's important. So sort of address that first, and then obviously for us it's like, okay, cool, like this is the situation, we're going to come up with a plan for that individual in itself. The second point that I would say is, rather than sort of masking it, like I always say with these sort of issues, and this is something that I've had to work upon myself, rather than masking it with, like, you know, things that I used to do, like the 10-calorie jellies, which again, they serve a purpose here and there, the baking powder, like actually tackle it face on, if that makes sense, rather than sort of beating around the bush. Do you see what I'm getting from there? Am I making that up on the spot?
You're speaking your truth.
So yeah, for me, like I want to tackle it face on and say, look, you know, this is becoming a bit of a problem, rather than just going, okay, well, I'm going to mask it now, adding in 4 10-calorie jellies like I used to have, and an extra gram of baking powder, and have a kilo of oats, which is mental when I think about it. Actually go, right, okay, like, what can I do in this moment of time? Okay, I can focus on actually improving my relationship. So like they said, we've tried to even incorporate like the journaling and things like that, like to sort of check in with yourself, like what's going on there. And most importantly, like, just remember that it's temporary. Like when we actually think about like hunger and actually starving, like you're not actually starving, are you, when you're still eating like 1,600 calories or whatever it may be on that prep. So, you know, factor that in, like it's only a short temporary sort of period of time that you're going to be doing this, and guess what, no one's putting a gun to your head at the end of the day. If like this is like so severe and causing you so many issues, like no one's forcing you to do this, you know. And that's really important to remember. That perspective is that you're not forced to do this, you've chosen to do this, and it's the part of the challenge and part of the process. So that's what I would also remind myself of daily. Like I've been there where I'm counting down the clock to the next bloody meal, you know. I'm like looking for 2 hours 10 minutes to my next meal, and I'm like, what am I doing myself, you know? But ever since like I've worked on that. Like even prep, I wasn't really counting down. Last prep I was doing, I wasn't really bothered about. Obviously I was hungry, of course, but I wasn't like counting down the time to my next meal, if that makes sense. So that would be my first one. And then obviously I think from there, well, what else would you do, to be honest? What's happening now is I'm actually so worried. I'm looking over to Vicky because I'm like, am I going off on one now? Am I going on an absolute
No, I don't want you feeling like that.
That's what I'm feeling like.
At the end of the day, we are going to waffle. You guys are going to listen. We're going to have a good time. That's how it's going to be.
Born to chat shit.
Yeah, it's born to chat shit.
Yeah.
And if you want to pause this, come back another time, but make sure to give us a like here.
Oh God, I've got insecurity now after this podcast. I'm like, am I waffling too much? You know, I'm looking at Vicky like, please look at me to see if I'm waffling. Like, nod at me to tell me to stop.
I don't want to feel like that, because I can waffle as well for days.
It's all good.
Yeah, so tactics in terms of food focus. I'll go through a few mindset tips of what I tell myself. First of all, reminding myself that the food is always going to be there.
Yep.
Just because I might not be having it now doesn't mean I'm not going to be having it later. I am privileged enough to be able to pay for pastries and cookies at any point in my life, therefore I don't need to have it right now. The second thing is, stop saying to yourself, I can't have this, and say, I choose not to have this. Like, I choose not to eat this. I choose not to eat that. I choose to eat my foods, because when it's a choice, it starts to become more manageable. If you say you can't, it starts to become like the Adam's apple, and we always want what we can't have, right? So that's another thing that I would sort of say to yourself. Sorry if you can hear Mango snoring.
Yeah.
This
guys, I don't know if you can hear this, but Mango's
disaster.
She's fully asleep right now in the trenches. She's having a afternoon nap by the looks of it.
Oh dear.
This is typically the time we'd be at the gym. Actually, no, it's not. But this is typically the time where she would sleep. So she's having a full-on kip in my arms at the moment.
Sorry about that. The third thing that I've said as well in the previous podcast is I always tell myself, not today, maybe tomorrow. Yeah. And I say that to myself tomorrow as well. Not today, maybe tomorrow. And if that's too much, literally say, not this hour, maybe in the next hour. And just keep on repeating that to yourself over and over again.
Therapy, did you?
I learned that in therapy, yeah. My therapist, he always said, not today, maybe tomorrow, because the principle of not relapsing is taking 24 hours at a time. Mm-hmm. So you just got to focus on the next 24 hours ahead of you, because if you start thinking like, fuck, I've still got another 3 weeks of prep. 3 weeks seems like a really long time, but when you just focus on the 24 hours and you just do that 24 hours, you tick the box, the next 24 hours comes and you can do that 24 hours. You can resist for 24 hours if you really, really wanted to. If someone had a gun to your head and said, don't eat this, you wouldn't eat it, right? So it goes down to that. Then the next thing that I always remind myself of is that
go on.
It sounds really bad, but like it's a choice, and I really had to be blunt with myself. Like, I know a lot of people say like binging is uncontrolled, and look, I say this because I used to be bulimic, so I used to eat until I couldn't anymore and then make myself sick, and I was like that for years. And then when I actually deeped it, it is as simple as literally not doing that. Obviously, I understand the thought processes are going to be so much harder to cope with, and 100%, this is where deep, intricate therapy comes in, and that's exactly what I had. But when you actually remind yourself, like, you are in control, like your eating habits, your binging is not out of control because you can control it. Another thing from therapy I actually remember, oh my God, this was like, we were sat in a circle. Basically, my therapist is the most cutthroat person ever, and he just spits facts, but when he spits facts, he actually makes sense. There was a guy in therapy, he was an alcoholic, and he went off on like a life story, like tangent with everything that happened, and then at the end of it, he said, and I have such a big problem with alcohol. And my therapist said, you don't have a problem with alcohol because you can drink plenty of it. Your problem is with your lack of emotional regulation. He's like, that's what you've got a problem with. You don't have a problem with alcohol, you've got a problem with not being able to deal with your thoughts and your behaviors. And I was like, fuck, like that's so true. And I translate this now to when I'm deep into prep. Like, I don't have a problem with food because I can eat plenty of it. You know, I have a problem with not being able to sit with discomfort. I have a problem with not being able to control my impulses, and I have a problem with not being able to process my emotions. Therefore, if I address those three things, my ability to resist my urge is going to be so much greater. But that's because I know the root cause of what causes my binging urges, and that's why I don't binge anymore, because I'm so good at, instead of preventing myself from that moment, I stop myself from doing it by healing my inner child and nurturing those parts of myself that I struggle with. So if you are in a bodybuilding prep, what I'm trying to say from this is, you don't, if you're thinking about binging, you don't have a problem with binging, because you can eat plenty of that food. You've got a problem with other things going on right now, and that's something that you really do need to address with either yourself, your therapist, if your coach is qualified to help you with these things. But ultimately, either addressing the physiological aspect of your food focus or the mental aspect of your food focus. And there's going to be a couple of things. The mental aspect, like I said, tell yourself a couple of things that I said to you earlier. The other aspect of like the mental is what George mentioned. Like, don't trigger yourself. If you're noticing there's a trigger, okay, you're sitting at a buffet with your family and you're going out to food and smelling loads of like Chinese restaurants. Like, if that's a trigger, don't do that. If your trigger is you're going on your phone and your explore page is full of cookies, pastries, and what other like food porn there is, block those things. Like, you don't need to be seeing it. Like, stop exposing yourself to things that make you feel like shit. And I know that sounds really blunt, but it comes from someone that cares so much about every single person that's listening, because I have been there. Like, I have been there where I've been in control with my eating, and I'm also there where it is controlled, so it can be done. Obviously, it's hard. Like, everyone's going to find it really, really hard. And then to touch upon it, if you aren't natural, of course, there are other things now that are coming out, like GLPs and like Retta. Do I agree with those things? Doesn't matter whether I'm in agreement or not. But if it's something that you are really struggling with post-prep, do your research on it. I'll just put that in there, because I think sometimes in terms of when people like right now, if you're very, very deep into prep and you're noticing there's binging urges, first of all, you need to address whether it's right for you to carry on prepping. But second of all, it might actually be that you do require assistance in that, because I think poor rebounds can really lead you to certain places.
Yeah, I think that stuff has its time and place, but it needs to be used properly for the right reasons, rather than masking the potential issues that obviously you need to address deep down, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think Vicky's just magic. She does these podcasts really well. I've just realized how well she speaks and gets her points across versus myself in this podcast.
Absolutely.
So
don't doubt yourself.
This podcast has been fantastic from Vicky, in my opinion, so big props to yourself on that front.
You're so harsh on yourself. I don't like it when you speak to yourself like shit.
I did a good job as well. I just feel like I was waffling. Guys, we've left it at 7% battery and 1 minute left on the recording, so we've done a really good job there, and we spoke for 47 minutes. Well, I bloody know why, to be honest with you. So I really hope you have enjoyed this episode of the podcast. If you can share it on your stories, like it, rate it on Spotify, all that sort of good stuff, like on YouTube as well, really does help us out. And of course, if anything that you guys want to see, listen to, questions, all those sort of things, we might do one. We haven't done like a Q&A one ever, I don't think, so we might get like we'll do a Q&A one, get some questions in from you guys and see if we can help you out. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and of course we shall see you guys in the next one. Keep killing it, keep working hard. I'm just gonna leave it there because I'm gonna waffle.
Bye.
Say bye, Mengi. Bye.